How to destroy fear forever, ladies and gentlemen. Let me ask you a question. What would you do if you weren't afraid? What dreams would you chase? What doors would you knock on? What life would you live? Fear, it's a thief. It steals your confidence, your energy, and worst of all, it steals your future. But I'm here to tell you something powerful today. You can destroy fear forever, and not with luck, not with magic, but with understanding, courage, and repetition. See, fear isn't real. Let that sink in. It's a story your mind tells you over and over until you believe it's the truth, but it's not. It's just a thought dressed up in emotion, replaying worst-case scenarios that haven't even happened yet. So how do we destroy it? First, we face it. That's right. You can't conquer what you won't confront. If you're afraid of rejection, go ask anyway. If you're scared of failing, try anyway. Because the moment you look fear in the eye, it starts to shrink. Why? Because fear feeds on your hesitation. Kill the hesitation, and you starve the fear. Second, we prepare. Fear fades in the face of preparation. You're afraid of speaking in public. Practice every day. Record yourself. Listen, improve. You're scared of starting your business. Learn, read, surround yourself with those who have done it. Because the more prepared you are, the less room fear has to live. Third, we reprogram. You've been taught to fear, conditioned, indoctrinated by voices that told you what you couldn't do, but it's time to rewrite that script. Feed your mind with courage daily. Speak life into your dreams. Affirm your power. Because fear is a mental habit, and habits can be broken. And finally, act. Nothing destroys fear faster than action. It's not about being fearless. It's about doing it scared. Every step you take in the face of fear is a punch in the face of doubt. And one day, you'll look back and realize fear was never the enemy. It was your training partner. It was shaping you, preparing you, testing your hunger. So I leave you with this. Fear may visit, but it doesn't get to stay. You've got a life to live, a legacy to leave, a dream to fulfill. So rise up, look fear in the face and say, not today, not anymore. I've got work to do, because the only way to destroy fear forever is to move through it again and again and again until it has no power left. Here are 5 key points for the how to destroy fear forever. 1. Face fear head on. You can't conquer what you refuse to confront. 2. Preparation destroys doubt. The more prepared you are, the less power fear has. 3. Reprogram your mind. Replace limiting beliefs with empowering thoughts daily. 4. Act in spite of fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward anyway. 5. Make fear your fuel. Use fear as a signal to grow, not a reason to stop. 1. Fear only grows in the dark. When you avoid it, when you tiptoe around it, it multiplies. But when you face it, look it dead in the eye, it starts to shrink. See, fear isn't the real enemy, it's avoidance, it's hesitation. The longer you delay facing what scares you, the bigger that fear becomes in your mind. You start imagining worst-case scenarios. You rehearse failure before you've even taken the first step. But the truth is, fear is just a feeling. It's not a wall. It's not a monster. It's a mental shadow, and shadows only disappear when you bring light to them. Now here's the deal. We've all got fears. Every single one of us. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being judged. Some of us are afraid to start. Some are afraid to speak. And some are even afraid to succeed. But here's what separates the ones who move forward from the ones who stay stuck. It's the choice to face the fear. Not once, not twice, but every single time it tries to stand in the way. And you don't need to take a giant leap to do this. Just one small, uncomfortable step. You're scared to speak in front of people. Start with a few. You're afraid to launch your business. Start with the first task. You're nervous to make that call, send that message, knock on that door. Do it anyway. The goal isn't to be fearless, it's to build strength through exposure. Each time you face what scares you, you grow. You prove to yourself that fear doesn't get the final say. When you lean into fear, you build a new relationship with it. Instead of seeing it as a stop sign, you start recognizing it as a signal, a sign that growth is just on the other side. You start using fear as a compass, guiding you toward the things that matter most. And when you do this enough times, something powerful happens. The fear doesn't vanish completely, but it no longer controls you. It becomes background noise. It's there, but it doesn't steer the ship anymore. Facing fear doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It means the fear no longer makes your decisions for you. It means you've taken back the power. And once you've done that, once you've stepped into the ring with your fear, you realize it's not as strong as it seemed. It's not as tall, not as loud. Most of the time, it was just bluffing, waiting to see if you'd challenge it. 2. Fear loves uncertainty. It thrives in the unknown, feeding off everything you don't understand or feel ready for. But the moment you begin to really prepare, fear starts to lose its grip. Think about it. How many times were you afraid simply because you didn't know what to expect? You didn't know the outcome, the process, the rules of the game, so your mind filled in the blanks with doubt, and doubt always invites fear to the table. Preparation is the antidote to that doubt. It brings clarity. It brings confidence. The more you prepare, the more you shift your focus from what if it goes wrong to how can I make it work. That change in mindset alone can quiet the noise fear makes, because now, instead of being stuck in worry, you're building a plan. You're taking control, you're stacking wins before you even begin, and that's power. Let's say you're afraid of public speaking. You imagine stumbling over your words, freezing on stage, forgetting everything. But what happens when you prepare, you rehearse, you record yourself, you get feedback, you fine-tune your message, you practice until the words feel like second nature, and suddenly the fear doesn't feel so overwhelming anymore. It's still there, maybe in the background, but it no longer dictates your performance, because preparation has replaced panic. It works the same way in business, relationships, interviews, auditions, any place where fear tends to show up. When you're unprepared, you give fear an opening. But when you study, when you train, when you work the muscle daily, fear has no choice but to shrink. Not because it disappears, but because your preparation makes it irrelevant. You've already done the work. You know your stuff. You've visualized success. That inner confidence builds a quiet strength that fear can't compete with. Preparation doesn't just arm you with skills. It arms you with belief. The more you do something, the more you believe you can, and belief is fear's worst enemy. It's the voice that says, I've been here before, I've put in the hours, I'm ready. That voice only grows stronger the more time and energy you invest in preparation. Most people think confidence is a personality trait, but it's not. It's a byproduct of preparation. You don't need to be the smartest, the fastest, or the most talented. You just need to be the one who's willing to show up early, stay late, and put in the reps. Fear doesn't stand a chance against someone who's practiced, someone who's studied the craft, someone who's played out the scenario so many times it feels familiar. That's the secret. You don't beat fear with luck. You beat it with discipline. You show up before fear does. You get so good, so ready, so sharp, that fear gets tired of chasing you around. And soon, instead of feeling like a fraud, you start feeling like a force. 3. Fear begins in the mind long before it ever shows up in real life. It's born from thought. Tiny, repeating beliefs that slowly build a world where failure feels inevitable, rejection seems guaranteed, and progress looks impossible. The scary part, most people never stop to question those thoughts. They just accept them, repeat them, and live by them. That's why reprogramming your mind is one of the most powerful tools you have to destroy fear. Your mind is always listening. Every time you say, "I'm not good enough," "What if I fail?" or "I can't do this," your brain takes that as a command. It builds a case to prove you right. It looks for more evidence of your limits, more reasons to hesitate, more excuses to stay where you are. But here's the truth, just as your thoughts can build fear, they can also build courage. It all depends on what you feed your mind. Reprogramming starts with awareness. You've got to catch the thought before it becomes a belief. Notice when you're slipping into fear-based thinking. Notice the patterns, "though I always mess this up," or the "they'll never take me seriously." Those aren't facts, they're old programs, installed by past experiences, other people's opinions, and moments of self-doubt. And if you don't rewrite them, they'll keep running your life like background software you never meant to install. So how do you rewrite them? You replace them. Every negative thought gets a new script. Not just vague affirmations, but real, grounded truths. Instead of "I can't handle this," you say, "I've faced hard things before and I grew from them." Instead of "I'm not ready," you tell yourself, "Every expert was once a beginner. I'm learning, and that counts." You start speaking to yourself like someone you believe in, someone worth fighting for, and you do it daily, not once, not only when things go wrong, every single day, because your mind doesn't change overnight. It changes through repetition. You've repeated fear-based thoughts for years, so now it's time to repeat thoughts of strength, of growth, of possibility. At first, it'll feel strange. Your old programming will push back. That's okay. That means it's working. That means you're waking up to the script you've been living by and choosing to write a new one. Environment plays a role too. You can't reprogram your mind if you keep exposing it to people who feed your fears. The voices you listen to matter, the books you read, the content you consume. If you want new thoughts, you need new inputs. Surround yourself with messages that lift you, challenge you, and push you to see beyond fear. Make it a habit to protect your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. When you start changing the way you think, you change the way you feel. And when you change how you feel, you change what you do. The chain reaction is real. It all begins in the mind, and when the mind starts to believe in your power instead of your limits, fear no longer gets to be the loudest voice in the room. 4. Fear doesn't disappear when you wait. It doesn't go away just because you think about it, talk about it, or hope it fades. The only way to weaken fear is through action, not perfect action, not fearless action. Just forward motion, even when your hands are shaking and your voice trembles. Because the truth is, you don't need to feel brave to act. You just need to act anyway. People wait their whole lives to feel ready. They wait for the nerves to go away, for the fear to stop whispering, for the moment they finally feel good enough. But that moment rarely comes on its own. It shows up after you move, after you step out, after you take that first uncomfortable leap. Action creates clarity, action builds courage, action reshapes the story you've been telling yourself. When you do the thing you're afraid of, something powerful happens. You realize fear didn't stop you. You did, and if you can move once, you can move again. Maybe it's messy, maybe it's imperfect, but it's movement, and movement is where transformation begins. You start to shift your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids and start seeing yourself as someone who faces things. Even if the fear is still there, your relationship with it begins to change. Most of what you fear is not the thing itself. It's the story about the thing. You don't fear speaking, you fear being judged. You don't fear starting a business, you fear failing in front of others. But when you act, you stop giving those stories power. You prove to yourself that you can do the scary thing and survive it. You learn, you grow, and you come back stronger. Action is a muscle. The more you use it, the more natural it feels. The more risks you take, the more you realize fear doesn't get to make the rules. You do. Each small step chips away at the power fear holds. One phone call, one conversation, one new attempt, and little by little, what once felt impossible becomes familiar, not because it got easier, but because you got stronger through the doing. There's a confidence that only comes from experience. You can read every book, attend every seminar, visualize every outcome, but none of it replaces the real-world power of showing up and doing. That's where the breakthroughs live. That's where courage is born, not in thinking, but in trying. Even failing becomes a gift when it teaches you that fear didn't end you, it just challenged you. You don't need all the answers before you begin. You don't need to feel 100% sure. You just need to trust that movement will teach you more than standing still ever will. You'll never know what you're capable of until you step into the unknown and give yourself a chance to find out. Every action you take is a signal to fear that it doesn't own you. It's proof that no matter how loud the doubts are, they don't control your decisions. 5. Fear isn't always a sign to stop. Sometimes it's a signal pointing you toward the very thing you need to face. The dreams that matter most, the goals that stretch you, the moments that demand your growth, they all come wrapped in fear, and that fear, it's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to awaken something inside you. The problem is, most people run from it. They feel the discomfort and back away, but the ones who rise, they lean into it. They turn fear into fuel. That pressure in your chest, that racing heart, that lump in your throat. Those aren't warnings to retreat. They're signs you're on the edge of something real. You don't get that kind of reaction when you're doing something that doesn't matter. You don't feel that intensity when you're coasting. So instead of seeing fear as the enemy, see it as a challenge. A call to rise, a chance to grow into the next version of you. There's power in learning to use fear instead of letting it use you. When fear shows up, ask it questions. What is it trying to protect? What does it think it's saving you from? Most of the time, fear is trying to keep you safe from failure, embarrassment, disappointment, but safety can turn into a cage if you let it. That's why you have to flip the script. Thank the fear for showing up. Let it remind you that what you're doing matters. Then move anyway with fear riding in the back seat, not the driver's seat. The energy fear gives off is real. It wakes you up. It sharpens your senses, it puts you on high alert, and when you harness that energy instead of avoiding it, you become dangerous. In the best way, you become someone who's willing to stand in the fire. Someone who can feel the heat and keep walking. That kind of person doesn't crumble. That kind of person builds resilience with every step. The truth is, your biggest breakthroughs are hiding behind fear. The version of you that's bold, confident, and unstoppable, they're waiting just past that thing you keep putting off, the conversation you've avoided, the decision you haven't made, the leap you haven't taken. You don't unlock that version by staying comfortable. You unlock them by using fear as a doorway, not a dead end. Every time fear shows up, it gives you a choice: shrink or stretch, hide or rise, freeze or move. When you choose to move, when you use the adrenaline as momentum, you tap into strength you didn't even know you had, and it compounds. One brave moment builds into another. One choice to act becomes a new habit. Over time, fear stops feeling like a wall and starts feeling like a guide, pointing you toward the work that matters, the path that grows you, the life that challenges and fulfills you all at once.